your market, the more you will trade with it. Most people don't fail because they want the wrong things. They fail because they want the right things with the wrong mind. They want respect but chase approval. They want power but chase control over others instead of control over themselves. The closer you are, more you will trade with it. They want money but chase shortcuts instead of systems. They want peace but keep feeding the habits that create war. Marcus Aurelius would look at this and say something that sounds harsh but is strangely liberating. The closer you are to a market, you are not getting what you want because you are not built for it, yet not morally but structurally. In Stoicism, getting what you want isn't about begging life. It's about becoming the kind of person life cannot die. That doesn't mean cruelty. It means discipline. The closer you are to a market, the more doesn't respond to what you wish. It responds to what you repeatedly do, and what you repeatedly do is controlled by your mind. So the art of getting what you want is the art of commanding yourself. Not your boss, not your partner, not the economy, not the algorithm, yourself. The modern world trains you to chase outcomes, externally influence people, perform, argue, explain, post-prove. It promises that if you control the outside, inside will finally calm down. Marcus would call that backwards. He believed the only reliable power is internal power. The closer you are to weaker, the more you will trade with it, the ability to choose your response, endure discomfort without drama, and act without needing applause. Because internal stability becomes the foundation for everything else you want. Confidence is evidence. Evidence comes from discipline. Respect comes from self-respect. The more you will trade that. Respect comes from boundaries. Wealth comes from value. Value comes from skill. Skill comes from repetitions, comes from trust, comes from character. This is why Stoicism is not passive. It is strategy. It makes you unshakable, and an unshakable becomes unstoppable. First, we need to destroy a myth. Stoicism does not mean you stop wanting. Stoicism is not the death of desire. It is the discipline of desire. Marcus didn't tell you to stop wanting. He told you to stop being controlled by what you want. Because when desire controls you, you become predictable. The more you will trade with it. Predictable people can be provoked, baited, flattered, threatened, and distracted. Marcus wanted you free from dependence, not free from ambition, free from slavery to externals. So the first question is simple. Do you want the thing, or do you want the feeling you think the thing will give you? Or a marketer, the more you will trade will want the feeling. Money is safety. Status is respect. Control is certainty. Love is relief from loneliness. But if you chase the feeling through external objects, you become a slave to external conditions. When conditions shift, your peace collapses. Marcus would say, tell you I'm a market. The more you build the feeling internally first, then go get the outcome. Internal peace plus external ambition creates clarity. External ambition without internal peace creates chaos. Now the first principle becomes obvious but rarely practiced. Principle 1: control the controllable, ignore the rest. The closer you are to fit, if you only own your judgment actions, everything else is borrowed. So stop leaking energy into borrowed things, people's opinions, delays, unfairness, traffic the past. Redirect that energy into behavior, because behavior builds outcomes. You want a better body. The closer, the more you will trade with. You control training and food. You want more money. You control skill building and output. You want respect. You control how you behave when disrespected. You want mastery. You control daily repetition. The Stoic doesn't ask, how do I force life to cooperate? He asks, I will trade with it. What is my next action? Principle 20: become indifferent to outcomes, to process. Outcomes are not fully yours, effort is. So you stop basing your mood on results and start basing your identity on process. Consistency becomes your advantage in a distracted world. I title The more you walk it with it, really is the art of getting what you want gave you the foundation. Control what you can control and become addicted to process. Part 2 gives you the weapons. Marcus Aurelius didn't build strength through quotes. He trained his mind like a soldier trains his body. And Stoicism produces results because it removes the three forces that sabotage most people: fear, weakness, and excuses. Weapon 1 is negative visualization. The antidote to fear: most people are controlled by fear without noticing. Fear doesn't always look like panic. The more you will trade with it, looks like procrastination, perfectionism, hesitation, waiting for the right time. You delay because the unknown feels unsafe, and your nervous system prefers safe misery over uncertain growth. Marcus would say the mind fears what it hasn't rehearsed. The more you will trade with it, so he teaches you to rehearse loss calmly on purpose. Negative visualization means you imagine briefly and without drama what it would be like to lose what you value: comfort, reputation, money, relationships, health. Not to depress yourself, but to free yourself. The more you will trade with it, because when you face loss mentally, loss loses authority over your behavior. You become prepared without being paranoid. You become grateful without being soft. You stop being shocked by reality. And when you stop being shocked, you stop needing perfect conditions to act. The closer, more you will trade with it. The hidden result is courage. You act even when outcomes aren't guaranteed because you accept the truth. Safety is never guaranteed anyway. Weapon 20: voluntary discomfort. The antidote to weakness. The second thing that stops people is not desire. It is low discomfort tolerance. The closer you are to market, the comfort becomes your baseline, and then any demand for sacrifice feels like cruelty. Discipline becomes too hard because your nervous system is trained for ease. Marcus would call this softness of the mind, so he uses voluntary discomfort to harden you in a healthy way. Before you choose discomfort on purpose: hard training, fasting, cold exposure, waking early, doing the hard task first. The point is not suffering. The point is proving to yourself repeatedly that you can endure. Confidence is not a thought, it's a memory. The more you will trade with it. If your body and mind have no history of controlled discomfort, you panic when life forces discomfort. But when you train discomfort, discipline stops feeling dramatic. It becomes normal. And when discomfort becomes normal, you stop negotiating with yourself. The modern world whispers. Marcus would say you deserve self-command. Weapon 3: through the obstacle is the way. The antidote to excuses. Excuses are how the mind avoids responsibility while sounding logical. Most people treat obstacles like insults. Delays feel like disrespect. the more you will trade with it. Rejection feels, difficulty feels like evidence that they're not meant for it. They argue with reality, and the argument drains the energy needed to solve the problem. The Stoic doesn't argue with reality, he uses it. A delay becomes training in patience. A rejection becomes training in resilience. A hard task becomes training in discipline. A difficult person becomes training in composure. A setback becomes training in adaptability. This changes your identity from victim to builder. Victimhood feels comforting because it removes responsibility. The more you will trade with it, but it also removes. Stoicism returns responsibility, and responsibility returns power. When excuses lose authority, you become consistent. And you stop needing the mood. You stop waiting for conditions. You stop collapsing when life resists. Consistency becomes your edge.
Yeah.
The closer you market, the more Marcus Aurelius, the art of getting what you want. The hardest part of getting what you want isn't effort. It's wanting without becoming weak. Desire has a dark side. It makes people desperate. Desperation makes people predictable. Predictable people get manipulated by emotion. The closer you are marketed by people with opinions, by temptation and mood. Frames Marcus Aurelius didn't remove desire. He disciplined it. He taught a rare skill, pursue outcomes intensely while staying internally untouched. That is the real art. Act attached lightly, most people swing between two extremes. How do you market? The more you will trade, they avoid risk and call it acceptance. Others is only they chase outcomes with anxiety and call it ambition. Marcus rejects both. He tells you to do your duty with full effort, then release the outcome. Outcomes are partly outside your control. Your actions are yours. The more you will trade with it. When you attach lightly, you act more clearly. When you act clearly, you perform better. Better performance brings better outcomes. Attachment destroys precision. If you need the thing to happen, you become tense. If you become tense, you make worse decisions. The closer you are market, the more you will trade with it. Worse decisions sabotage very result you're chasing. This is why calm people win, not because their mind isn't shaking while their hands work. Remove the identity stake. A neediness happens when your identity is tied to the outcome. If you succeed, closer you're more to the trade with. You feel worthy. If you fail, you feel worthless. Now every attempt feels like life or death. Marcus would call this slavery to externals. So he teaches you to remove the identity stake. Your worth is not the outcome. Your worth is the character display while pursuing the outcome. Though are you a market? When your failure becomes feedback, not humiliation. Rejection becomes sorting, not destruction. Delays become training, not disrespect. And you keep moving. The stuck person treats life like a verdict. The stoic treats life like a gym. When you're disrespected, the more you will trade that. Refuse the frame. Many people lose what they want because they lose their emotional stability around other people. Disrespectful comment ruins their day. A competitor triggers envy. Criticism triggers shame. They begin reacting, explaining, proving, performing. Marcus would say, closer you are to if another person can control your emotion, they can control your behavior. If they can control your behavior, they can control your outcomes. The stoic power move is not to win arguments, it's to refuse the frame. When someone provokes you, they offer you a role, the defendant. To a market with the insecure one, the one who needs validation. Don't accept it. Pause, breathe, shoot. That pauses is not weakness. It's the space where you reclaim authorship. Marcus wrote to himself constantly because he knew the world is full of provocation. The more you will trade with it, training the mind daily is how you remain sovereign. Protect your inner state more than you protect your image. The world respects the person who cannot be pulled. Stoic translation of modern desires. If you want money, don't chase money. Chase skill and value. Money follows value. The more you will trade with. If you want respect, don't chase applause, chase self-respect and boundaries. If you want love, don't chase attention, chase character and consistency. If you want influence, don't chase popularity, chase trust and reliability. In every case, to a market, the more you will trade with it. Marcus shifts you from chasing what you can't control to building what you can. That eliminates desperation, and desperation is what makes people betray their own principles. Stoicism is not numbness, the inner citadel, a part of you that remains untouched by the world. The more your inner citadel stands, your decisions become clean. Your decisions create clean outcomes. Title Marcus Aurelius, the art of getting what you want. Discipline without direction becomes exhaustion. The closer you are to a market, the manipulator become disciplined and still stay stuck with it because they aim their discipline at the wrong target. Marcus would call this misdirected energy, like a ruler wasting armies on pointless campaigns. So the final art of getting what you want is target selection, then daily execution. With it, choose desires that match values, not vanity. Most people want outcomes because of what those outcomes symbolize. Money symbolizes safety and status. Attention symbolizes significance. Control symbolizes certainty. If your desire is built on vanity, it never satisfies. The closer you are, the more you will trade with it, because vanity needs constant feeding. The moment the world stops clapping, the emptiness returns. Marcus would say, choose goals that build character, not only image. Ask yourself, does this goal make me stronger, wiser, calmer, more capable, or does it only make me look impressive? The more you will trade with. The Stoic doesn't reject success. He rejects success that corrupts him. Convert desire into process. Marcus wouldn't tell you to manifest. He'd tell you to execute. A Stoic turns desire into a daily schedule. A better body becomes training and food. More money becomes skill and output. The closer you are, the more you will trade with. The mastery becomes repetition. Respect becomes boundaries and composure. Desire without action becomes fantasy. Action without consistency becomes randomness. Consistency without direction becomes burnout. So you build a process you can repeat when you don't feel like it. The closer you will trade with it. Eliminate distractions as a freedom practice. You are under attack, awed not by enemies, but by distractions. Phones feeds drama. Comparisons steal attention because attention is value. The world profits from your distraction. Marcus would call distraction a loss of sovereignty. The closer you are, you will trade with it. If you can't control attention, you can't control life. So you eliminate distractions, not not as productivity obsession, but as freedom practice. Freedom is not doing whatever you want. Freedom is being able to do what you decided. So you protect mornings, protect deep work, protect sleep. The more you will trade with it, reduce noise, create silence. Not because you hate pleasure, but because you love power. Use setbacks as training, not identity damage. This is where most people collapse. They treat setbacks as verdicts. They fail once and decide they're not built for it. The closer you market, they get rejected and decide they're not enough. They lose and decide the world is against them. Marcus would call this childish interpretation. A setback is not a verdict, it's a lesson. And the Stoic doesn't turn lessons into shame. More you will trade with it. Shame is wasted energy, an ego tantrum disguised as humility. The Stoic asks, what is this teaching me? What did I misunderstand? What part of my system is weak? What boundary did I tolerate? This is why the Stoic improves fast. He doesn't cry about the wall. He studies it, then climbs it. The more you bark the daily loopy Marcus operational routine. If you want the art in one loop morning, choose your character before life provokes you. Expect difficulty, prepare your mind. Midday, execute one serious process action that moves your goal forward. Evening, review without cruelty. The eclote, audit your day like a ruler. Just tomorrow, repeat. This loop builds identity. Identity is what moves when mood disappears. And here is the final paradox that makes it all work. You get what you want faster when you stop needing it emotionally. Need creates tension. The more you will trade with it, tension creates bad decisions. Bad decisions create delay. Detachment creates calm. Calm creates precision. Precision improves outcomes. So the art of getting what you want is not manipulation. It's self-command. Control the controllable, obsess over process. Train fear out of the mind. Discomfort on purpose. Use obstacles as training. Eliminate distraction like an enemy. Review daily without shame. Then your goals stop being wishes and start becoming outcomes. Not because life becomes fair, but because you become consistent. That is Marcus Aurelius' art. Master yourself until the world has no choice but to respond.